Vanya. She's our, like, the mother of our school. She kind of does everything.
Master of the universe.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
everyone.
this is
Really quickly, I'm the director of student services at the school. I've been working with the school in like different capacities for the last 5 years, but this is my 3rd year within my role at the school. But I'm really excited to have you all here. My little sister's an artist, and so she loves you all very much too. So she was super excited when I told her about it.
Cool.
So super excited that you're all here. Thank you again.
Yeah,
and
thank
this
you.
is also Krisha Tejada. She is our newly appointed Dean of Students in our school.
AKA school counselor. Hello.
Yeah.
But this is my 3rd year. I'm really excited to have you all. I'm sure Mr. Maselli has filled you in on some of the social justice, social awareness work that we're doing with our students this year, and he is one of our co-founders for the new advisory program that we've implemented this school year with our students, and we're talking about all sorts of things. Last week we talked about empathy in the Black Lives Matter movement. This week we're talking about diversity and representation in the media, and so you are all having this this interview is awesome, and having you all here, it just ties everything we're talking about this month with our students. And so what we're doing is recording this interview. We're going to show it to our kiddos who didn't get a chance to see it on Wednesday, and have a discussion and a bingo about it. So this is perfect. And he's our creative director, let's say, of advisory. So he gets to think of really cool ways to tie in the things that we talk about in fun, new, innovative ways.
Cool. Yeah, and honestly, one of the biggest reasons why originally I wanted to have something to do with the 3 of you is our school community. We have, like, and I think Stephanie and Krisha, you could give me more like exact numbers, but like a massive part of our school population, with it being the staff and students, are Latinx, and we feel like this is, and young women. So we felt like this was like the perfect group of people to come talk to our students, because maybe I had one student that said, I didn't even know that there's people making art in the community. Like, this was kind of not a shock to him, but he was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And I was like, yes, this is why this is really important, because our students come from downtown, Rampart. We have some students, I think, that might also come from Boyle Heights, East LA area to come to our school. So this was like the best connection that I tried to make. I wanted to first also introduce the 3 of you. I'm gonna share my screen here, if that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's basically, sorry, I probably need to pull up my slide presentation. So this was just something that I put together for like our students to see. And like I said, I took things from your website, from Instagram, and I presented this to my students to basically took words from your biography that I thought that were like the perfect words to get them inspired by. So if we could start with Joan, if you could take a moment to kind of talk a little bit about yourself and some of the things maybe that you see here on the screen here.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Joan Zamora, or Joan Zeta. It's up to you guys. Well, I'm a mixed media artist. I pretty much try to use everyday found objects. I use a lot of coffee, glitter, stencils, photocopies. I always have made it my goal to not stop me, like resources not stop me from making art. So that's why you try to incorporate everyday objects. And what else? I went to school up north in San Francisco. I went to San Francisco State, which is like a Cal State. And what else? Right now I'm working with special ed students in Koreatown. And I just been organizing with Nisantas for 4 years now, since the beginning. And what else? And I'm just working on just developing my art more. That's
Excellent.
it.
Are these images in the top left here, this is the coffee that you're referring to?
Yeah, that one. The first one is Vanessa Guillen that you're pointing to.
Yes.
So I did that. The coffee to me signifies like, it means several things. It can mean like brown people, and it also signifies like struggles we go through. So that's why I try to put the coffee on her mouth, because that's why they try to silence her. And also the goal to just reflect positivity and that, you know, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And then the girl with the bikes, it refers to us being part of Bavarian Cycles. I don't know if you guys know about the Bavarian Cycles. It was also a collective, bicycle collective.
Yeah, I think when I was doing a little more research, like when I read the bio, I believe yourself and Andy also were, you're on bikes. You're making it happen through the city on bikes, and you were almost like a collective of cyclists. I don't know the term, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and the bottom image is my most recent work. It's a lino cut. It's a huge one. It's like 24 by 24 inches.
I was gonna say that's a very odd size. That's huge. That's
yeah.
great.
It took forever, and I stabbed myself a couple times trying to make it, but it still got done. That one's just about. It's a little bit about addiction and just trying to get help through your community. And even though like the person's being led by snakes, like sometimes the people like don't. It's like about not judging people by their cover, the cover of the book. And then the last image of me in the top of the car is I work with self-help, part of the Barrio Mobile, and we did a census caravan. So that's part of the census caravan that just recently happened.
Cool. Yeah, and oh, sorry. Well, I want students to see that you're in a car. I'm guessing that you have the sign at the side of the car, and you were, if I'm reading into this correctly, you were driving around LA and trying to get the word out there to people.
Yeah, we're trying to get people to do their census. And I also want to plug in that Self-Help's going to do a caravan for Day of the Dead as well, like November 2nd or 1st.
Cool, excellent. Yeah, and if Andy and Trey, if you have any things that you want to plug also, please, like you know, let us know. That is one of the things too that I do want to get students to, when they see this later, they go back and they're like, oh, let me go check that thing out. Let me go do that thing, because that's really like the connection we're trying to make here. It's one thing to tell our students about it. It's another thing to actually get a few of them, maybe all of them really, like would be perfect, a few of them to go seek out these different opportunities and things that are happening in their community. Cool. Thank you, Joan. Awesome. Andy, I was gonna, I'm sorry, let me just press, I'm like failing here. Okay, cool. So, so yeah, I have a couple, I didn't post too many things about the printmaking that you do. I apologize, but I felt like this was also the two other images that I have here are really like an important thing that's going on in your life, in your community. So if you could like hit it and tell us about yourself. I think we still have her muted.
Sorry, there?
It's all good.
My name is Andy, or you could call me Soch or Andy Soch. I've been organizing out of Boyle Heights for the last 11 years. I first started organizing with Bavarian Cycles. They were an all women of color bicycle brigade with the purpose of empowering women of color physically, emotionally, spiritually, while using our bike as a tool for social change. And also empowering us in different ways. Like I said, using the bike as a tool, but also helping each other learn leadership skills, and also breaking down these stereotypes that women can't get along. So fighting cattiness and building sisterhood was very important. That led me to organize my own collective. Well, I don't I don't know. I don't always say it was my idea because it's always a group idea, but definitely because of ovarian cycles, it led me to find confidence in myself to gather other women that were like-minded, and we started Ni Santas. I already knew Joan from that. Trey had actually came to our bike rides before, and I knew they were all artists aside from being cyclists and organizers. So it made it easier for me to think that I wasn't the only one craving for these safe spaces. With Ni Santas, I was able to empower myself through art, help other women empower themselves, and bring them to a space like Self-Help Graphics, which is known historically to help Latinx, Chicano, people of color who were eager to find these resources for themselves and to get their foot into the professional art world, which we're not really even aware of. And I'll go back to how I even became a more professional artist. Before I became an organizer with Ovarian Cycles, I was part of a non-profit art organization called Yo, What Happened to Peace? And they were like a traveling art show of pro-peace political posters. From that experience, I was able to meet my mentor, who was a masterpreneur, and she's the one who really took me under her wing and physically made me visualize myself in these spaces, these white dominant spaces. Fast forward to Ni Santas, that was always been my intention, to bring resources and try to take women under my wing, give them the resources that we always lacked. Now, with all of that experience of the last 11 years, I was able to find the confidence and the courage to invest in myself, invest in my own ideas. And with that mentality of grassroots and organizing behind me and community building, which now I'm realizing was networking, with that, I was able to build my own business and find courage to chase my dreams. So here I am today with my business that's been around for maybe since last year, but really just only a few months, since May. And today I made the announcement that I would open up my second location here in Boyle Heights.
Yeah, I was going to say today just this past weekend, it just got even larger. So if you could explain it, because I know when I really started noticing this, I was like, ooh, I gotta go support. I gotta go buy some plants. Like, this is really cool. Like, I have too many plants, but like, why not? We'll get some more. But like, so students and staff members, you can go to your shop, and could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. My intention with my business was not just to get plants into my community, but to help reconnect our community with our ancestors through plants, and acknowledge that we have a long history with plants way before the trend even started. And I think last time I was talking to my friend, I had mentioned that it's no longer a trend. It's a new era of how we see plants and how we interact with them. So that's my intention, my mission, my vision is to reconnect. When you come into the plant store, I want to make sure that you connect with a plant, and then you could go home and feel confident about taking that plant home and taking care of it, so that you can remember and see the good in you that we sometimes forget. The nurturer, the person that knows how to take care of something and make it grow. And it's something small like that can really boost your confidence and shift the way you think about yourself in a more positive light.
Excellent. Cool. That's really awesome. And what is the address of the I guess your first spot? Maybe
Sure.
your second spot isn't completely filled in just yet.
Yes, the first one is 2117 Cesar Chavez. We're between Chicago and St. Louis. If you know where Guisados and Monarca is, we're right in between that. So we
Excellent.
are so happy to be right in the middle of all that. But I didn't even think about being in the mix. I thought about preserving my community. I thought about fighting gentrification in a more tangible way versus just complaining, right? And no, I'm not throwing shade, but at the end of the day, we have to be proactive and not just talk about it.
Yeah, that is true. That is, I think, even like meetings that we have in school and in businesses and things like that, it's like, okay, we've done all this talking. Okay, how do we actually create action?
How we implement what we learn.
Yes, yes. Cool. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I wanted to also get to Trey. You also go, I apologize, I have maybe your pen name or your artist name of Clover.
Clover. Yeah, that's fine. Either. I don't mind either.
It could even be your tag name. Maybe one day that was something. So please tell us a little bit about your work here, because I had taught my students about typography and like the power of using letters and words and also like thinking about contrast, and this totally ties right into it. So thank you for being here, and tell us more.
Okay, so I started I guess getting into art. I feel like since I was younger, I was always drawing, but I've actually never really taken an art class. But I did take a lettering class and a silk screening class at Trade Tech when I was like 19. And after that, like halfway through my sign painting course, I met a friend, Blossom, and she took me under her wing, and she taught me how to go out, and because she was sign painting too, so she taught me how to just talk to customers and offer people signage. And so by the end of the class, I was already working and still learning. She taught me too how to work fast and clean. But I'm into, I want to say, all sorts of mediums. I guess just mixed. Whatever I can really just do, or that I don't struggle doing. Like aerosol, I did do graffiti and got introduced to art through graffiti. I feel like I never really like went too deep into it. I automatically just like went into art. It was more, I want to say more interesting, or yeah, to me it was more interesting than just tagging. And then from there I just expanded, and I always had an interest for lettering and typography. So I took that sign painting class that taught me the contrast, and then just what reads better, like what's more eye pleasing, and just emphasis. And they taught me how to paint on almost every surface and design. So I incorporate that as much as I can into my artwork, like the one over here that says "Keep It Moving." So it's like mountains. I like nature a lot too, so anything greens, I'll always add to it. And then just the sky and keep it moving, just being more inspirational. Like no matter what you're going through, just keep it moving. Like it'll pass, just not to stay stuck. And then for these, the middle ones, I did some posters for the Youth Justice Coalition. They always have I guess get-togethers, or they're always pushing forward for like whatever. Like this one, it was so they can drop all the charges, I think, for the underage kids that had that were still in debt, or that were still being charged for like if they're still on probation or anything like that. So they don't so they'll drop the charges and still not be charging them. But I did that for them super last minute too. I think it was like the day before. I just happened to be at their space with a friend, and they were working on them, and I'm like, oh, I'll help you guys do some. And I just sat there hanging out, and I did those. And then for this wall, it's off of Bradshaw and Whittier. That was for, I think it was for a mural. Who was it? I want to say, damn, I forget the org. It's because my friends, I'm really close with the people, so I don't even like think about it as like their organization. But it was pretty much a wall that was getting tagged on a lot by two gangs in the area that they pretty much just wanted to stop their beef, or not have it be a wall where they'll where they'll be fighting on. And I think someone had actually gotten shot and died because of that rivalry. So they decided to do a mural there and to kind of not to just stop that, or to not allow them to keep battling on that wall or to claim that wall, because it was just their neighborhoods being crossed out.
Because so many times with art, it's about like that initial reaction we have when we look at it and we see it, and like our minds have this instant like judgment, and maybe in a way your art and this mural being put there gets someone to look at it, think about it, and it hits them in a place, because I think we all know that like no matter how deep into like a gang or something you may be, there's still some part of your heart in there that like that connects to some kind of past experiences you had in your life.
And so so what we were doing, our intention was we lettered Somos Familia. So it's we're all family. Like it doesn't, like, you know, yes, they're different neighborhoods, but at the end of the day, we're still human. Like we're family. We shouldn't be fighting against each other. And so we took a more cultural approach to it because we knew they would be able to relate. So I remember we put an Aztec dancer. She's off to the left. She's really huge.
Yeah.
And then we put 2 lowriders because that wall is off of Whittier. So I painted two lowriders, and then the Whittier sign. And then off to the right, there was some native plants, and I think they put Zapata, and they put different people, I guess, like warriors, but then they added some from the neighborhood too that were from there that passed away. I think one of the guys that passed away, and just different community members that have passed that did something for their community. So they added those people there too. But that was mixed too. That was aerosol and paintbrush, like Nova.
Cool. And it's really official. You're on a crane here, and like that's a lot of intense work that goes into those pieces of art.
Yeah. I also on the Aztec woman, she or just a dancer, I didn't do her body, but I did her headpiece, like her headdress. So the scissor lift was like all the way up, and I did have to move it. And then there was ladders too. Half of the time I was on the ladders too.
Wow. So this actually, like, I'm noticing there's really three things that connect the 3 of you. One being, it sounds like a lot of the times you're, not the phrase like in the right place at the right time, but you're around people that are interconnected with each other. And it's like the 3 of you were able to really make this bond with each other. Like, let's go even further. Let's do something even bigger than this. So you're in similar communities with each other. 2, you all have incredible art talent. Like, so that was like that's like the easy part. Like, it's like, all right, we're all amazing artists. The third part actually is something that I feel like I'm hearing that stems into or goes into a question. So I asked my students to, after I showed my presentation to them, I asked them to ask questions of Nisantas. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 questions that were amazing. And I wanted to use those to help guide the rest of our chat here. So I want students of LAAAE to know your questions are going to guide us through this conversation here. So snaps and bravo to you on that. So the first one was, what was an impact of your childhood when you were growing up that made you kind of choose this lifestyle? And it kind of goes to like where a lot of like where you grew up, the things that you see around you, the people that you're around, the experiences that you had. So I know it's for each of you, if one of you has like a really excellent story about something, or if you each want to, you know, tell us something. But like, so how did your childhood? I'm just going to ask, did all 3 of you spend most of your childhood here in Los Angeles, or and how did that inspire you to get to the place where you are, like with what you're doing now?
I can go first. Or
I know that's the hard part when you ask a question and you're like, wait, which one?
Okay. So I was born and raised in South Central, been living here my whole life. And around, I would always see, so it would always be gang writing, the neighborhoods, just throwing up their neighborhood on houses, on the side of buildings, and then just the neighborhood too. When I want to say maybe like 12, I was really young. One of my neighbors that I would always play with, our friend, her brother, got shot when he was young too. He might have been like 13. And because they thought he was a gang member, someone just confused him and they shot him and he died. So that was my first, I want to say, experience with gang and gun violence. So from there, I feel like I knew, or it was just visible to me. I was experiencing how gangs really like destroy, or can destroy our neighborhoods. And then just with even that, the tagging, and then with Cruz too, I feel that I wasn't terrified by it, but I was more entertained by it, and I really liked it because it was art that I would see around. It was the artwork that I would see around growing up. And then there was different artwork up too, but it was still related to graffiti. And I feel like that inspired me to want to make my own, but also to speak out. I feel like when I was younger, I was a super shy person, so I wouldn't really want to be out and talking or telling people, but I would write it. Like, I remember in early high school, me and my friends, we started this org. It was Students Enforcing Educational Demands, and we were also part of MedChas. So our instructor, our teacher, he was our history teacher. He would give us books, CDs, music to listen to, and he would pretty much guide us and encourage us to look into these things. So we would organize like sit-ins, or just get our principal to pay attention to our needs as students, not just to what they want to in their school. So I feel like that was the inspiring moment of getting into all of this. And then obviously with police violence, we were always against it. I think it had to do a lot with the music we listened to too, where it just encouraged us to not accept it and be against it. And just seeing that since forever, it's not a new thing that the police target us brown people. It's been like that since forever. So I think that that's still till today. I feel that that's what brought us, or makes us connect easier, that we all come from this organizing background, or just being upset and wanting to do something about it, not just talk about it. So I feel that and art, like you can mix that. Like you don't even have to write anything or use typography, just with images. Like you can do that. But I feel like that's what started, or what inspired us, or me at least, to go out and start doing this.
Yeah, even just looking at hip hop, it's like the similar stories are, it's coming back in full circle, like each so ever many years. It's like the stories that were talked about in the 80s and 90s, it's like it's still occurring. And now you're of the age where you can really take, like, you can now are old enough to empower people through your art. Cool. Thank you. Joan or Andy, a little bit about like your growing up, how that affected or influenced you to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. I'll go really quickly. I grew up in Highland Park. I grew up with a lot of muralists around. There's a lot of art in Highland Park. I was not into school. And, you know, now looking back, of course, I regret it. However, I knew there was something about me that I couldn't really relate to the rest of the class. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, who my friend was always doodling. And for some reason, I was just like, I want to do that. I want to be like, I want to just be able to like pick up something and entertain myself when this history teacher is obviously feeding me lies. So I would draw. Eventually, I picked up a book called Hasta la Victoria stencil, and it was a compilation of political stencils in Buenos Aires. And at the back of that book, it showed how you can create your own stencil. And I thought that was so cool that I had already seen stencils and I had already thought about making one, but didn't have the right inspiration to actually go and do it on my own until I realized, hey, I have my beliefs and I have my art skills. How can I merge those together in a way that is accessible to common people? So all you needed is cardboard, all you needed was a box cutter, a blade, and a spray paint. That was my first introduction. Eventually, I met my master printer mentor, which showed me that a screen print was just a more sophisticated version of a stencil. And being able to mass produce was something that was appealing to me, that I could do graffiti and street art, but also do it quick, in and out, knowing that I was, you know, at high risk of getting in trouble with the law. I tried to find the middle ground. That's kind of how I really got into art on a more professional, but also not just doodling at home kind of phase. I was able to transform it into something more.
I think so often and why I try to teach my students about graffiti and like what it and how incredible it is as an art form is how many of these artists that we follow and we look up to, we see the work that we do and we're marveled at them, and it's like they had some struggle for years where it was kind of this middle ground of like they could get in trouble, but through those experiences, look at where we have them now. Now they are cultural icons. They're people that like speak to us and give people like yourself the empower people like yourself to feel like, you know, I can do that too. I can also have my voice be out there also, and make it something that is accepted, you know, and not risking being in trouble for it. So it kind of like those experiences sometimes you need to have as an artist to get to that point. Cool. And Joan, yourself, about a little bit about like how you got to this point, maybe as a kid.
Yeah, for me, it was when I started college. I did a semester abroad in London, and then I was going to a lot of museums because it was like my first time out of the hood. So it was just like, it was my first time seeing so much art. But the problem that I came across was that most of the women that were being portrayed were either just like, it was either the Virgin Mary, it was about like the fallen woman, or you know, it was just mostly like, you know, the whole virgin mother and whore portrayal of women. And it was just like very infuriating to me. So I wanted to tell my own story. And also what really affected me was seeing, I don't know if you guys have heard of this artist called Gauguin. He paints like these beautiful paintings of like these brown women, but it turns out like all these brown women were his concubines. So they were just like his lovers, and he was taking advantage of them. He was like pretty much colonizing where he was going. So to me, it was very like I got really angry at seeing like that the only portrayal of like brown or like indigenous women was like portrayed by this man who was taking advantage of them. And I wanted to be, I wanted to tell my own story, and I wanted women of color to be portrayed like by their selves, not by like some man taking advantage of them. So to me, that was like the biggest influence in why I wanted to get into art. Because otherwise I would have just, if I wouldn't have seen that, I don't think I would have gotten into art. I would have just like said, this is going to be my hobby. But just seeing like that representation of women really is really necessary in the bigger world like aspect.
And that's a tough thing with Gauguin, because Gauguin's paintings kind of come right out of of Impressionism, and they're so colorful, and it's like it's hard, it's easy to get lost in the color of Gauguin and then not look deeper into what's actually really going on here. And actually, to be honest, I don't think I ever really looked that deep into his paintings. So that's you know, I have this picture in my mind of Gauguin, and that's you've just educated me to go a little bit further and look a little bit deeper into it. So how did you all meet? Like was there like, okay, so obviously you were involved in different things, and might have like some of my friends that I have, we have a moment where we could tell people the story, like, oh, there was that time, and we all just kind of looked around and we're like, oh, I guess we're all friends. Was there like a moment, or did it all just really like you were all friendly with each other and then it came together to want to like, let's be empowered? Or was there a moment that you all ended up in the same place with each other?
I'll speak on it. Like we had mentioned, we've been part of ovarian cycles, or at least had attended ovarian cycles. So starting off there, we had already a background in organizing in our community, and knew the importance of creating safe spaces, and the need and the lack of resources, especially in the art field. So when I left ovarian cycles, I realized there was a lot of women that were trying to create, or they couldn't have a space, or didn't know really who to create with. I knew I had a lot of resources, but why weren't there more resources for specifically women, queer, trans, non-binary folks who wanted to come together in a safe space without fear of judgment, without fear of like mansplainers and or people just criticizing ourselves, criticizing each other, and in an unhealthy way. I decided to implement the things that I learned with ovarian cycles, having a mission, a vision, and an agenda of what we wanted to accomplish at each meeting. So we would meet each time with the purpose of learning a specific medium. And if someone was good at it or had more experience, then that person would host it. And we first started with a IG post. It's funny because my business now started from Instagram, and our collective essentially started from an Instagram post saying, hey, we're gonna be at Self Hope Graphics, we're gonna take up space, we're gonna create. You don't need to bring anything, you don't even have to donate, just show up. And women showed up, and that just proved to us that what we were doing was something that was very much needed. Even if we didn't have a lot of experience in the art world, we knew how to just bring the women together, and that was good enough.
It's amazing, the power of social media, how you're able to kind of like just it's like grassroots in its own way, with a digital interface. Cool, that's excellent. So what were there any obstacles that occurred over your last couple of years that you've been working, that whether it be, you know, I don't want to lead with a question with an answer, but like from the community, from maybe family members that maybe or don't agree, or just like a clash of your belief system, or that may conflict with other belief systems, or just you know, obstacles that you've gone through as a group with the art that you're making? Because I know you do, which I'm going to take a moment to pull it up in a moment, but like doing community installations, like you're putting that out there in public for all people to experience. And when you put art in the public, you open yourself up to criticism just as much as you open yourself up to praise.
Joan can speak on that. I think she has a really good example of how that played out in one of our installations.
Sorry, I just
putting you on the spot, Joan.
I saw the smile on Joan, and she was like, "Okay, I think I'm telling the story here."
Well, we had problems with when I made this stencil that said teach boys not to rape, and it was just a conversation starter to talk about consent and talk about not just like how to tell women to protect each other, but also tell men how to protect women and not be instigating and like violence against women. And we actually got into an argument with a man, and he started saying like how not all men rape, which is true, but it's just like, yeah, and that's how that happened. And also from this picture that you see here, we did this at the LA Freewaves. It's called Love or Fear, a celebration of genders. And actually, when we actually have a video of that, we participated in like a protest, not a protest, but we were like talking about like women's issues on a Saturday night on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was just very, Clover was there too. And we all got like called, we all got told to like shut up and like leave the area because we were just like ruining everyone's time. But
it's almost like the Hollywood goers were like, hey, we came here for stars and stuff. Don't give us your message. So yeah, I get that. That is kind of the tough thing with when you're an activist, like you're going to get that anti-side sometimes. But I guess you want to almost hope like whatever it is kind of can make people think twice about it. Similar to like what Trey was talking about with creating her piece on that wall. It's like, maybe I'm not going to change everyone's mind, but maybe there's just that moment where people can like think about it a little bit more than they already did.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now, so this was an amazing question that a student asked. You know, actually, I'm going to kind of bring two of these questions together. So this student asked, have you ever been in a situation where you dealt with racism or harassment, and how did it impact you and the art that you make? And I wanted to also add in there, another student had asked, like, how do you feel representing what we go through like, how do you feel about representing what we go through today with your art? Which is what I just thought was like an incredible way of putting it that I never really thought about, is like, you're artists who are on the front line representing what we go through in our daily lives. So did racism or harassment or like stereotyping, anything you wanna say in there, how did it inspire you to, or impact you to make art about what we all go through in our daily lives?
Well, there has been, I mean, even experiencing it as a collective, we deal with it even now. I mean, like racism, we've experienced it even in LA. But in one situation, we went to the Women's March. I think it was one of the first big ones that we went to. And we went with our faces covered with ski masks. But it wasn't to intimidate. It was more to represent the Zapatista movement and honor them. So we show up. We show up, and we all worked so much on our posters, and we even chanted different chants to empower ourselves. We burned sage. We were doing pretty much who we are, our culture, and we got approached several times by asking, by non-POC folks, that why were we covering our faces if this was a friendly protest. There was other comments saying, what are you burning, when we were burning sage? So these microaggressions that we were getting from fellow protesters, fellow women protesters, feminists,
at a place that's supposed to be unifying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even, and to me, it was like seeing suffragettes there was kind of, it threw me off, because knowing a little bit of the history was, from what I know, is that they wanted to prioritize their vote before the votes of Black folks. So it was just it all around was just so confusing and so, to me, it was just an opportunity for a social media op picture, while attacking us in a sense for our ways, our cultures. That's one way we've experienced it as a collective. I mean, I'm sure we all have individual stories of experiencing prejudice and racism.
So one of the things that I wanted to have this forum to happen is to like explain to our students that you can use that. Like obviously we never want to have those situations happen, like, but we can't control it sometimes, is to empower students. Like, how do we use that to empower ourselves? So how did those experiences, because I know that or I'm pretty sure that happened, like the women's rights protest was before Black Lives Matter, before like other things had occurred. How did that inspire you as a collective to like keep pushing and keep, you know, challenging the norm and challenging like what is supposed to be like expected from a protest, or expected for what your voice should be or should sound like? So how did
I think more than anything, we weren't trying to fight or fit in. I think more than anything, it was in us to just create these spaces. We were too focused on the work at hand that we, of course, do this with that notion in the back to fight, you know, the oppression. But because we've been in so long, I think it's our second nature to create. It's already in our blood to know that what needs to be done, who we need to organize and pair up with, and what resources we need to bring. That's how we fight it. Fighting these stereotypes that we can't get along, that we can't organize. We become self-sustaining, autonomous, actually. And with those tools are the ones that we're actually using to implement and fight racism and fight oppression and being marginalized as brown women. Joan, do you want to talk about?
I think it has just encouraged us to take up more space, like, because like Andy was saying, like going to that protest, we didn't want to necessarily like stand out or like any of that. We just wanted a protest. But it turns out like we were just keeping it like in real in a way, because when it came down to protesting Garcetti, people were telling us, can you be quiet, because Garcetti was speaking, and we were just like, we're just trying to keep him accountable for what he, you know, his agenda is. So it's just like, I think that has encouraged us to be more critical of protests, and to simply not just show up and protest, but also like do a little background check on like who's leading the protest, what are they protesting? I mean, because there has been some people who are problematic who lead these protests, and their intentions are not really good. So it's just like to always question what the real intention is, and all, you know, just be aware and be critical of like everything that's going on, and not simply believe that everything that's going on, I don't know.
So did has being a part of this collective, it has, but maybe an experience, like something you could speak on, how has it helped you understand the world around you, or like seeing the world around you more clear by doing this kind of activism through art? I mean, I'm thinking of lots of people that may see it on their phones, they may hear about things like this, and they may know about it by reading their history books and being like intelligent about these different things that are going on in the world. But how did the activism through art help you see the world around you more clear?
Well, for me, it has made me be more vocal about everything, or just try to help out, because in an essence, like art is propaganda, so it's just trying to help out. So it's just like recently, like I was working with a library that got torn down in my neighborhood in like South Central. So then it's just been like, how do we use art to like spread the message quicker and because a lot of people, let's be honest, people don't like to read. So it's easier to create a flyer or create some art, and then people will get the idea quicker. And instead of reading like a paragraph or two about like what's going on. So it's just been like trying to help out the community as much as possible, just by spreading messages or like just trying to get people more involved and getting people to actually like take up action with like local community events or stuff that's been going on.
So that kind of ties into a question a student had, which was, and I think even Trey, you started to kind of touch on this earlier. So you, a lot of you were doing work through a print space, if I'm correct. What was the name of it again? I'm sorry.
Self-help graphics.
Self-help graphics. Excellent. Yeah. Now, last year, what I wanted to have was either a group of my students like go to the self-help graphics spot and like do some silk screening with you all, or have a representative come to our school and like at least, you know, just the process of letting a kid hold onto a screen print and like do this, it's like, it could be life changing. I know the first time I did it, it was like, oh my gosh, I have all this power. Where could our students go to see some of your work? Is there any permanent or semi-permanent? Well, I'm sure if it's, you want it to be as permanent as possible, but we know that like sometimes that doesn't always work out that way. Do you have any like semi-permanent or permanent work that's located in Boyle Heights, East LA, South Central LA that our students, or even the adults here could go check out somewhere?
Yeah, there's a wall right next to Self-Help Graphics off of First, in between Anderson and Clarence or Utah, I think it is.
Utah.
Yeah, and that's a mural. Me and Gabby, she's one of the members. We worked on with another organization there. It's a nonprofit. It's Las Fotos Project, and we included some of the youth there. But we did we painted that with them, and me and Gabby. And then there's that mural. That one's off of 54th and San Pedro in South Central.
Cool.
And it's also the students and us. And then there's another wall off of Central and 41st. And I feel like I can't remember any other walls. Oh, the one in East LA, Bradshaw and Whittier.
Cool. So do you, and this is kind of off the student questions a little bit, it's just more like something I'm wondering. Obviously, COVID has probably made your art a little bit more difficult, I guess, like to get out to people. Like I know even just looking in this photo here, like here you are at a protest, and I don't know if like these were people who work with you that were doing these prints, or if you were actually allowing like, you know, protest goers to like do it themselves, which I'm not really sure like if that's what you were doing. I was kind of maybe reading into that photo, but how have you been trying to like maneuver through COVID shutdowns and closures, and like where do you maybe even see like your printing going in the near future that's more like a two-dimensional something that people can make connection with?
Sure. Well, we've been working with Gender Justice LA. We've been invited to collaborate with them for, you know, just some of their demonstrations that they've been organizing. We were asked to design a poster, and we live printed at one of their events. We were teaching people how to print, and it was during COVID, but it was outside. So I think now we've always done workshops, and we've done a lot of public spaces, public space workshops and demos. But this one I think was the first one that we did And so, you know, we felt a little iffy about it, but at the same time, given the severity of what we're going through and the urgency, I think we were able to, you know, take a slight risk, right? And make sure that we contribute and that we support these movements. We haven't been really been organizing and coming in together because I think we're all figuring out our how we're gonna shift, right, our careers in the art world, given that it's so limiting right now. But we've been working with Self-Help Graphics. They're still hiring us to do artwork. We've been they've been doing digital showings of the artwork, and I think you could even go and see them, right, Joan?
Yeah, I noticed, Joan,
Yeah.
you had something that's which it's not like I never thought about it. I was going to, I've gone to so many art openings in Los Angeles over the last like 12 years I've lived here. I mean, it was just second nature. Saturday night art openings all over LA. You go, you hang out, you do your thing, you go from place to place. But now it's upon artists to figure out the digital art gallery space. So Joan, I noticed you had a virtual art show that was happening recently.
Yeah, it was through Stella Arts Festival. They did a digital festival recently. And also Self-Help also had each one of us create our own art. It was our own individual art, and we just had that happen. It was about, the exhibition was about COVID. And then, like I said earlier, Self-Help is also gonna have a caravan for Day of the Dead. So
Cool.
watch out, Boyle Heights.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was trying to tell my students, like, hey, even if you're in downtown or like the Koreatown Rampart area, it's a quick hop, skip, and a jump over any one of the multiple bridges that go over the river. And I will try to do my best to follow the things that you're doing and try to get that out to our students.
There's also for the kids in that area, there's another org called Art Division that I also work with. I'm a teaching artist for them too. I work at a Gratz para los Niños. It's off of like Whitmer and Fifth. But that they also offer art classes and silk screening and a bunch of art classes for free. I think it's youth till up till you're like 26 or 25 or something like that. But that's a place to check out. They're really friendly, and they're also doing some online stuff or even online classes. Like I think they'll let you like pick up materials and do it at home or something like that. But you should check that out.
Thank you. So I guess in my last final thing that I wanted to do to kind of, close this out here, if each of you could have something that you would have hoped that you were told when you were our students' age, and maybe it has an art angle, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's just, because with us, we have a lot of staff members here who, we've been through a lot of experiences already, but we also have middle school, high school age students here too. What would you tell our students, like maybe something that you wished someone came into a Zoom room and told you when you were younger?
I'll go. I think that's a very important question for me because I experienced what that can look like. When I was 19, I met my mentor. I didn't know she would be my mentor, especially under the circumstances that I did. But when I saw someone, I mean, yes, she was white, but she was a woman. And even a woman in the art world made me realize that I had a chance. She took me under her wing. She taught me everything she could teach me about printing it and running her own business. That even put the idea that I could do it on my own. And so she introduced me to Self-Help. And when I went to Self-Help, there wasn't a mentor program, but I kept going and I kept insisting in becoming part of these spaces. So the commitment to wanting to learn, the curiosity, I think that's what led me to become the artist that I am now and the business owner. I think all of those things have built the tenacity that I have now to feel confident in and feeling that I am an artist and a business owner. So volunteer, acquire as many mentors as you can. And I recently, even as a 33-year-old, had asked someone to mentor me. And because she had just had a baby, she said, look, I can't mentor you. I can't commit to something like that. But, you know, people can be your mentors without even noticing. And that stuck with me. So even having those conversations, even having lunch with someone constantly, someone that can teach you something, is important. Surround yourself with people who you want to be like.
Cool. Joan or Trey?
I would say be connected to yourself. Like I guess just focus on what's really important or on what you want to do, or try to figure it out. I feel that when I was younger, I was just partying a lot more than I should. And although like I was like super into organizing, there was the downside of living in these neighborhoods around all these drugs and alcohol, where at one point I chose to drink, or we would drink immediately after we were done doing our work that we needed to do, like our meetings or organizing. Then we would go drink, or we'd party, you know, just in a sense, like I don't regret it. I kind of do, just because it's like it's not what you should be doing at 14 to 17. But it also helped me like at an earlier age. By 21, I was already like, I don't even want to drink anymore. Like that lifestyle isn't for me. It's the poison. And it just it helped me realize that it's like yet another poison that they give to us and our people, just so to oppress us, to keep us down. And that got me more mad and inspired. I was like so angry, but also I'm like, well, I'm in control of this. Like I don't have to just shoo it away and be like, well, it's just one drink, or who cares? It's just getting drunk. Like, it's your body. It is gonna affect you. But I feel that just like she said, going around introducing yourself to people. When I was younger, I knew about self-help, but I never wanted to cross over the bridge. I'm like, that's too far. I don't know the neighborhood. But it's really just one bus. Now there's the metro, so you can just, it's
Right?
really
The yellow
easy.
line, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So just don't be afraid to go out there, take someone. And even if you don't, most of these spaces are really welcoming. So they won't leave you alone and be like, oh, well, you know, figure it out. Like they'll want to engage. And especially if you're, like if you're youth, like they'll want to take you and show you around and really let you know and connect you. And I think that's really important, connections. I realized that, I think when I went to self-help and just meeting people, how they can connect you to other people in different jobs. Like where I stand now, I took 2 years at Trade Tech for the sign painting, but other than that, I didn't take any teaching or child development, any classes outside of like even my general ed classes. I still haven't done them, but I'm able to have these jobs because of the people I know and my artwork, and I guess just my background period, or I'm showing that I have interests, or that my heart is in it for the right reasons. So they'll take you in and they'll give you these opportunities. So I feel that it's important to just nurture what you have, even if you don't feel like you're the best, but you're interested in it, just go for it. Because I always think like, what if I would have taken art classes when I was younger, or looked into it even now, just in art class period, or drawing classes. Like I know I would be a much different or better artist, but I don't beat myself down. I'm comfortable where I am, and I know I'm talented, but I always wonder like, oh damn, like I know there's always room for improvement. And if you start at a younger age, it becomes easier. So it's like, it's more knowledge that you'll have at an earlier age, so you'll just be able to grow even more as the years go by.
Yes, I tell students all the time, I'm almost 40. I don't expect your like talent to be right where I'm at right now, but it took years of practice, drawing even when you didn't even think the drawing was going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You just did it. And in a sense, like you were self-taught in a way, but you also had these other people like around you that taught
Yeah.
you too. So you created your push, but you also had these people around you who were like helping you push you along that way.
Yeah,
But the
like
practice.
when I was in high school, I would make patches, like band patches with stencils and acrylic paint, very DIY. And then after high school, when I went to Trade Tech, I took the silk screening class accidentally. And then later on at self-help, I ended up using it. Like I would get jobs and would help them. And at first, like I didn't know that that was a process when I was in high school doing the stencils. And then when I learned it, like I guess the right way or by the book, I was like, cool, you know, like it wasn't difficult for me. And it reminded me of like what I was doing in high school. And then afterwards, like a few years after I took the class, I was like, oh damn, like I know how to do this. And it just like I didn't know that I was gonna end up using it, and it did.
And how many things do we use that we take for granted, that it's printed by an artist? An artist was somewhere that designed that shirt, that album cover, that advertisement you're looking at right there. You know, so there's an artist behind it, and we tend to like just move right past it. Like, oh, it's cool, it's nice, it's colorful. Cool, excellent. And Joan, something you would want to, you know, tell your younger self?
What I've been telling myself the whole entire time, just take up space. Even if it's a white space, take up space. Wherever you feel like you are not wanted, you should go there, and because the world belongs to everybody. And you should never stop yourself from going to places that you feel uncomfortable. If you feel uncomfortable, that means you're gonna grow, and you're gonna, you know, and don't be afraid to feel. I've been telling them, I've been learning about that like recently. So don't be afraid to feel, and don't, and stop thinking about things that you can't control, especially looks, especially with social media and filters and all that stuff. Just keep it real, and everyone's beautiful in their own way. That sounds as cheesy as it sounds. Just stop worrying about how you look like, and just try to help out your community, and just make things better for yourself, and especially your own community. Your community depends on you. And the only way we're going to get better is just by helping each other. So just help each other out.
Yeah, and that goes into, like, for our students, you know, look around at your community. Like, if you see things that you think needs to be changed, like it takes the want to kind of make those changes. So if there's some things in your community that, you know, you feel like this needs to be different, think about ways in your mind that you can try to make those things happen at whatever age. And it may be that during our high school years, we're formulating what those ideas are, but then as you get a little bit older, really try to find and surround yourself with the people that can make those things happen. And then you, in turn, will be able to look back on your experiences, like our three awesome artists that we have here, because I'm sure the three of you didn't know you'd be getting asked these questions when you were 14, 15, 16, 17. I know that I didn't think I'd be asking these questions of people when I was much older, but it all just comes from having great experiences as a kid. And so I really, honestly, this was the first time that we'd done this, like with our school, like myself, that I've done this with artists in the community. And this couldn't have gone any better than this did. This was amazing. I really wanted to thank the three of you for taking out the time to do this. It's been a work in progress, like trying to just figure out how to do this, and you made it all work really awesome. And I really hope as time goes on, there are more and more opportunities where myself, staff members that are here, students that go to our school will get more chances to one day, like, see one of the three of you at a community art event and be like, hey, like, I know you. You came and talked to our school. and you inspired me, and like, or maybe it's the other way around. One day you're doing something, you're talking with them, and they're like, oh, yeah, I think I spoke to your school. Like, you look at what you're doing now. This is great.
I had that moment going into, I think one of the girls, we went to the same high school. I'm like, she looks familiar. I had that moment right now.
Wow, that's funny. So yeah, honestly, so I am gonna do my best to try and be a pipeline to my students, the different things that you're all doing in your community and just in general. I guess what I'll do right now is, since we have a lot of students that I'm sure use Instagram, it's at @ni_santas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Really quickly, what does maybe this might take longer. What does Nistantas mean?
Really quickly, Nisantas means, well, it was taken out of a phrase that a Chicana protester had in the 70s. And she looks like a badass. She has her big old glasses, smoking a cigarette, and she looks fed up. Like, why should I even have to be here? You know, like, but her message was very clear: ni santas, ni putas, solo mujeres. And it translates to not saints, not sluts, just women. And, you know, it's kind of self-explaining, but I think to us, it was like we were constantly being raised and like pushed into Catholicism. And to us, it didn't resonate. So we're not saints because apparently, to their standards, we're nowhere near saints. We're not perfect. We're not sluts, and that's addressing the slut shaming, and the expectations of a woman. And then we're just women, you know. And yes, it can be a little problematic, but we make sure that when we post about who we are trying to cater to, we make sure that we explain that it's for women, queer, trans, non-binary folks that need these spaces. But at the end of the day, if you have femme in you, if you resonate with any of those labels, right, for lack of a better term for all those things that exist in the larger world, we want to be there for them.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, really, this is incredible. We're going to take this eventually and show it to our students that weren't here, and we're going to use it as a tool to inform, especially since you're all making amazing things happen right in our community here in Los Angeles. Once again, thank you for, again, this was amazing, and I will give my snaps from here, and we've got other students and staff members that I'm sure are doing the same. And I look forward to it's really just begun with you all. I look forward to seeing all the amazing work that you all be doing in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Cool, you got it. So yeah, students, staff, this kind of concludes our first artist interview session. I hope to keep doing more with other people in the community. If anyone has any like follow-up questions or anything they wanted to say, or by all means, go for it. I'm still hanging out at school here. Okay. Cool. So yeah, Ms. Espana, I'll be in touch with you about getting the recording, and Ms. Tejada and Ms. Shapiro and myself will kind of troubleshoot that and get that out and be able to get this to the rest of our student body. Thank you again for hosting. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for our guests. I know some of the students were chatting me. Some of them, they're super excited. I feel like I have to like brag about it. I've actually seen some of their work at Self Help Graphics, and it's amazing. And I hope that one day, I know I had mentioned to Mr. Maselli, it's like it'll be awesome to have a little field trip there. We know that right now we don't have the opportunity to do it. I hope that in the near future we do get to visit Self Help Graphic or any other location where we can see their artwork in person, because it is truly beautiful and inspirational. And so I'm just really grateful that they're here, and that I know we have a lot of students and staff members participating today, and hopefully we get this message out to a lot more of our students and staff. Thank you again for being here. Kiddos, thank you for being here as well. I know some of you are messaging me questions, and we're so excited that you were able to join us today and to really experience this live, right? We'll give you the recording, but it's a little bit different when you get it live.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much. And so I'll close out the session, and I hope that we get to one day meet in person or work together in person with the kids. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Cool.
Bye.
Cool. Peace, y'all. Be good.
Bye.
Go Wolves.
Bye.